Hi, I'm taking Paul McWhorter's AI for Everyone lessons. We're on lesson 19 and using media pipe hands to, Paul showed us how to control a on-screen rectangle using our hand to move it around the screen. For the homework, he challenged us to turn that into a one-player Pong game. So um, that wasn't too hard. I just got that going. So figure I'll show you how I did it. We'll get to our code. So I'm using my mini computer and a remote desktop to do this. So we'll make it full screen so it's easier to see. All right. So anyhow, figured start where we left off last week. We had our helper class to create our array, our MP array class. And I had put mine into a separate file called MP helper. So I figured I'd just leave it like that. Like I said, we had to have the import the media pipe and the CV2 because we were using both of them in this class. So we had to use that. So basically, like I said, all this does is pull in a image or a frame and spits out the landmark array called my hands so that we can use it to track what goes on the in our program. So basically, that's the helper that we got. So basically, we're not using MP array. All that takes place over in the helper, so we didn't have to import it here. So we left that off, but the media pipe module out. But we do have to import our helper libraries or modules, so called MP helpers, and I just as MP help. So basically, we just got some screen size parameters, and then for the game itself, I got a score, I got a paddle height, and then a paddle half, which is since we're in the middle, I go both ways with the plus and minus on from our center. And then the ball X and ball Y is the position of the ball on the screen, and then ball radius is we got, and then this increment, X increment and Y increment, is how far we move the ball each time we go around the loop down there. And this is just a position of our X on our paddle left and paddle right so that we can know whether our ball is going to hit it down a little bit farther. So we create an instance of our MP array, and by putting this in module dot class to get that, and I called it my LM, and then we can use my ALM to call the methods down lower. Then we just basically do our regular cam stuff that we do. Then we get down to while true. We get our regular frame read here. And one thing I wanted to do is my webcam mirrors, and it made it hard to play the game. So I added this line of code to flip the frame around, mirror the frame. So basically here we're doing the same thing. We're just getting our landmark array coming in, and we're putting into a array called hand array. And then if we get data back, then we're going to do this where we create our paddle. So like I said, our index finger is 8, so it's the first hand, the index finger, and then the X position is what we need. You can see I commented it over there why we got it the way it is. And then we're adding or subtracting and adding the paddle half to it to give our sizes, and then we put our sizes into there. So then, like I said, that's all the paddle. That's pretty much Paul was showing us how to do that on the video. And then the ball part was what we had to do. If you remember back on lesson 9, we did bouncing the ROI frame around the screen. So that's a good place to get inspiration for this code. So basically you're taking the position of the X and the position of the Y, and you're incrementing it by the X increment and Y increment each time it goes through the frame. And then you basically are checking to see if it's hit the sides yet. We're using width minus the ball radius so that looks like the ball hits it and doesn't go halfway through the screen. And if it is, and once it gets there and it does hit the sides, then we're just changing the multiplying by -1 to change the direction of the increment. Do the same thing for Y, except for we're only worried about the bottom of the screen because we got to treat the top. That's where we're scoring at. So we got to treat that a little different. So, and then, like I said, we're just doing the same exact thing, turning the increment, multiplying by -1 to turn it around. Now, when we're going to check to see if we are hitting our paddle or whether we miss our paddle. So we want to check when we get into the Y area, the Y height of the paddle, we don't want to check it unless we're in that area. So that's what we're doing. If we are, then next we have to check and see if the ball is underneath of our paddle, so that, to tell us if we got a good hit or not. So if it is, then we reverse the direction of that Y and bounce it back. And then Paul said, well, you ought to give it a score for each one you hit. So we're adding 1 to our score. And also Paul was talking about making it a little harder if you, as you get better at it. So each time you hit your paddle, we're taking 2 pixels off of each side of the paddle width. So the paddle keeps shrinking down as you use it. So that's but then we put this code in just to make sure that we still end up with some type of paddle. I don't think we'd ever get down that low, but figure I better put it in there to be safe. And then if the ball gets below 0 after incrementing, then that means we missed it. So we're subtracting 1 from our score, and then we're resetting all the ball variables, including the paddle size, back to big once we miss it. And basically that's all we're doing there. This just puts our ball on the screen where we're calculating it, and then we're putting the score on the screen as well. And basically that's all we had to do. A lot of variables and everything, but 57 lines of code wasn't too bad to figure out what we were doing. So we'll go ahead and get her running, see if it runs. If I'm good enough at it, you'll see that the paddle shrinks a little bit each time. There's a little glitch on there that you just saw where the got real small on me. But once it gets up in that area, less than paddle width, sometimes it has a little glitch. I could probably code that out, but I'm not really worried about it. Anyhow, that's the game. All right, well, that's my homework for this week. I didn't do any extra credit. I'm waiting to see where Paul takes us on this. I want to thank him again for all he does, and we keep learning each week. So thanks for watching.